We do have some wonderful guest speakers with us today from Zurich Insurance. We have Stephanie Joviksen, who's a university recruiting lead, and we have Michael Bovino, who is the university relations manager. So, with that, Stephanie, I will turn it back over to you to share your screen and jump into the content.
Thank you. All right, we can just go ahead and jump right in.
Okay. Great. I just want to just kind of run through just some of our agenda, and then we'll do just a quick introduction of myself and Steph. So thanks for taking the time to meet with us. We're really excited to work with everyone and give you some more information about Zurich and how it's a great place to work. Also really excited to just kind of give you some tips about resume writing and LinkedIn and just our application process. Overall, we'll do a company overview, some introductions, share our emerging talent programs. We have an application process and timelines that we are working on for our 2025 openings. So excited to share that with you all. It's kind of wild that we're already approaching fall. I mean, the year is flying by. So uh, really excited to share that info with you all. We also have resume writing tips we're going to go over, LinkedIn profiles, and we're going to open the floor to questions. Um, so I'll just kind of dive into my intro, and then Steph, do you want to kind of dive into yours?
Sure.
This is our entire university recruiting team. Myself and Steph are on the call hosting. And then we have our AVP of talent, Susan, who is also someone part of our team who is great individual, really influential in the business, and someone, if you get to work for us, we'll love to kind of just work with. Kat is one of our university recruiters, and Simran is also one of our university recruiters. So a little bit about myself. So I'm a university recruitment manager here. I've been in early talent for about 10 years now. Grew up in Chicago and have been in the Chicagoland area for my entire life. Been in the city for about 10. Prior to that, I'd worked in tech and also have worked in insurance and a bit mix of finance, but I've always been in early talent. So for the last 10 years of just helping folks get jobs and start their careers has been my passion, and I'm really excited to kind of give you some of our tips and tricks on how to kind of optimize yourself in this. So, thanks for having me here, and let Steph take the mic. And then just one other thing, our style is very much that of down to earth. So at any point throughout this, we want to keep this interactive. Feel free to raise your hand, ask questions, and just whatever comes in your mind, type it up or raise your hand. We want this to be engaging and fun, and this is supposed to be informative and helpful for you all. So feel free throughout it, ask questions, and then at the end, obviously, we'll have time for that as well. But we like to just have folks engage with this. So, yeah, thank you for everything. And Steph, you want to take it off?
Yeah, absolutely. And to Michael's point too, if you have any questions at all and you want to even just pop it in the chat, I'm happy to take a look and we can kind of answer questions as they come through. But thank you all so much for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Zurich today. My name's Steph. I'm based in the Boston area. Have been in Boston all my life. I love Massachusetts very much. I have actually more of a non-traditional HR career path. So I actually started my career at another insurance carrier as an analyst in a rotational program and rotated through campus recruitment. So that's kind of how I found my way to campus. Absolutely loved it. Have pivoted to recruitment and been working on early talent and also some tech recruiting ever since, and really love it. So it's really nice to be able to come full circle and work at Zurich and also be hiring for some of those similar types of training programs that I was able to have exposure to until like my very like first job out of college. And in terms of what I manage, the two programs that I manage very closely are the underwriting training program and our actuarial analyst program. And then I also hire for those two aligning internship or feeder internships as well. So Mike and I will talk about all of the emerging talent programs that we offer today. But if you have any questions specifically about those two programs, I'm happy to answer them for you. And then we can also talk about some of the programs that Kat and Simran manage too. But yeah, really excited to be here and really nice to meet all of you.
Awesome. So Zurich North America goes to market through six distinct business units and a new risk management unit. So essentially what this slide says, it shows our different major business units that we do hiring for. So national accounts, middle markets, direct markets, Canada, life accident, health, and crop insurance. If you're not familiar with what Zurich does, is we're one of the largest commercial insurers in the game, and these are the groups that we support. So fun fact, and I always like to say this is, we actually insure 90% of the Fortune 500 companies. So the cool thing about working here is you really do make an impact on the world. I always like to say this about insurances, and if is we are the folks that guarantee that business can continue in a time of crisis, and and you really get to really help some major names out, and like it's pretty cool you get to work with some of these different organizations. So here are the major areas that we kind of hire for. And then as well as Zurich Reliance Solutions, which is a portion of our risk engineering group, which is another form of the business that we use to help our customers mitigate risk. And it's an aspect of the business that's pretty interesting. We do a lot of hiring of engineers in that area to help with like risk assessment, things like that. And we can go into a bit more detail about that um, at a later point. But yeah, Steph, you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak to foundational training programs and internships. So as you can see, we offer a lot of really great opportunities here at Zurich. So in terms of training programs, so I'll list some of these out, and I'm sure if you're familiar with just the insurance industry, a lot of these roles will probably look very familiar and similar to maybe what you've seen across our competitors. So the first role is our actuarial analyst role. The only basically I would say like requirement that you absolutely need to have if you're interested in applying for that is that you do need to have one actuarial exam passed. Or I know that a lot of actuarial programs now, you're able to go through like a semester course and get exam credit, but we would either need exam credit or one passed exam. We also have a finance development program, really great program as well. It's a 24-month rotational program where you'll rotate to a new business unit every 4 to 6 months. We also have a risk engineering training program. This is a really cool position. It's actually 100% remote, and you do get a company car because you're traveling to different like construction sites and things like that to evaluate the risks. We have a claims training program, which is, I think, a really great program if you're maybe you've had experience in customer service or that's something that you really enjoy. And then our underwriting training program as well is a fantastic place to start your career. I would say it's kind of a hybrid role. So half kind of focused on business development and soft skills, and then half focused on analytic skills. For example, someone that might have had like a sales internship in the past and maybe some sort of analytics internship in the past, or even coursework that aligns with that. If you really enjoy those two types of, I would say like project work or work areas, this would be like a really great career opportunity to consider. And then you'll see on the right, so we have a lot of the same internship programs that kind of feed into those foundational training programs. And then we have a lot of various IT internships. So we're still in the process of finalizing headcount right now, but just to list off a few that we had this past summer, we had a SharePoint administration intern. I believe we had some endpoint technician interns. And then in terms of, excuse me, corporate functions internships, so these typically we'll know a little bit more in the next couple of weeks what headcount will look like. But this past summer, we had, for example, like a corporate communications intern, marketing intern, business corporate functions intern. So just those types of things, just to kind of give you an idea of what we hire for. So this is like a quick snapshot of what our application process and timeline looks like. So Mike and I joined Zurich about a year ago, and we was really cool. We got to build this or rebuild this process from the ground up, which was really exciting. So you'll see at the very top, there's a timeline. We tried to time this with all of the months of when things typically happen too, just to give you an idea of what to expect. So right now, if you go to our careers website, we've just started to post a lot of our pipeline requisitions. So for example, if you go to our career site, For underwriting, you might see like a market-facing underwriting trainee role in Dallas for 2025. So these are roles where we're still kind of finalizing headcount, but we're looking to gather those applications as quickly as possible so that we're able to move through the interview process really quickly. Um, so that's kind of like the first step. So looking at our career site, finding a role within early talent and emerging careers with Zurich that aligns with your interests, and just going ahead and clicking apply. And I would say like late August, early September is when we're going to start to conduct virtual info sessions. So those are going to start to kick off. We have some slated for the very last week of August, and we might potentially schedule some additional throughout the fall too. But that's something that we'll post about on LinkedIn should you be interested. And it's just a really great way to get to know Zurich and just what our programs are like, to meet some alum from the programs and things like that. So those are really the first two steps in what, like, I would say August to very beginning of September will look like. And then as we start to collect applications, the first step for all of our emerging talent programs is to complete a pre-recorded video interview. So has anyone done like a pre-recorded video interview before? I see like some smiles and nods, so that's a good thing. um, this is something that we've put in place of a traditional recruiter screen. So one of the things that we want to be able to do as a university recruitment team is if we find someone that is a really fabulous fit for the role, we want to be able to push you through the process as quickly as possible to ensure that we're able to close you and close like that specific talent for that year. So this is a really great way for us to learn a lot more about you and be able to progress you to that next kind of final stage of the interview process much quicker. So we try to make it as painless as possible. Each of our training programs, the questions that you'll answer about, I would say 6 to 7 each, really kind of standard behavioral questions. We're not looking to have you like rate a risk on the spot or anything like that. But specifically for roles like underwriting and claims, we're going to be interacting with folks pretty frequently. It is really a great way for us to be able to assess your soft skills and past project work and things like that. So that's really kind of the first step of the interview process. The second step would be to complete a virtual interview day. So post COVID, when I did like my first like super day out of UMass, and I remember I like drove to Boston for the day. I felt like it was like the craziest thing ever. I interviewed in person in like a series of conference rooms. I was with a group of about like 30 other students. So we've basically taken that super day concept and we've converted it to 100% virtual, just because the way of working, or just like past post COVID, has really changed. So for each team, a virtual interview day will look slightly different. But for UTP, for example, you can expect to meet with usually between 2 to 3 stakeholders for about 30 minutes. And then we're able to debrief quickly and then make a decision if we'd like to move forward, or if not, to provide that feedback and to wish you the best on your search. Our goal is to make the process as streamlined and concise and positive for both the candidates and stakeholders as possible. Just so if things work out, that's fantastic. If things don't work out, we want to be respectful and make sure that you have enough time to continue your search too. And then below is just a diagram of our virtual interview day. So just to run through this quickly. So you would, as a candidate, I would get a link via Microsoft Teams. I would go ahead and log into that Teams link. And then contrary to like the in-person where you'd literally be like waiting in a lobby, like on a couch, you're basically doing that, but virtually. So for a given interview day for UTP, we might have 15 candidates that are interviewing. You'll all wait in that lobby together. We'll give a quick intro and then we'll funnel you into your own assigned breakout room. And then you basically stay in that breakout room for the duration of the interview day. And then almost like a switchboard operator, we basically take your interviewers, transfer them into the breakout room, and then transfer your next interviewer, transfer your next, and then we're able to wrap up after that. The perk of interviewing in this way is that we're able to moderate really quickly as a team and then get back to you with a hiring decision really quickly also. So that's like a full kind of overview of just application process, timeline. And then we'll basically kind of like repeat this process until around like December, around like fall finals and stuff like that.
So pre-record video interviews and tips and tricks. So a lot of companies have switched to this. It's a more optimal process due to kind of high candidate application volume. Essentially, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to ensure that you get seen by a couple of managers who you are then being able to meet with some folks on the team, get a better understanding of who we are, but then in an efficient way, get back to you and be respectful of your application process within the next, 48 hours, at maximum 72 hours, get back to you with an answer of, hey, were you a fit or not? We can let you know within that time frame. That's the ideal state. That's what we aim for. So it's a process that we're trying to make sure you're having the best experience possible. So with these pre-recorded video interviews, we have that ability to do so. So how does it work? So you'll receive an email from our system, which is yellow. It's a great platform. A lot of companies use it. I imagine you've probably seen it throughout the industry if you're applying to roles. So once you click the link, you'll have an option to begin the video interview. Yellow asks a question, then you'll have 2 minutes to review the question and 3 attempts to record your response. So we understand this is a cumbersome process at times and you're talking to a screen. So we're human too, and we know that it can be a little daunting. We promise you, we feel like, uh, you know, it's not like talking to a person. So don't feel too overwhelmed. We understand mistakes happen. We're very empathetic. We review every single one of these. So if you need to redo it, take it, and then also reach out to us if there's you have questions on things. We're very like here, and we do look at our inboxes and we do respond to candidates. So don't sweat it. We know this is a bit of awkward, but our entire team reviews these, so they do get looked at, and it is looked at a human being. So
I
it is.
I actually really love that you said that because, I have spoken to a lot of students that go through this whole like pre-recorded video, and sometimes it just catches them off guard, right? Like it starts recording and they're like, wait, is it recording? Should I go? And they're like, oh no, I have 10 seconds left, right? To record and talk about themselves. So I think that's a really important point that if you guys do mess up, just know that it's okay, right? You can, like Michael said, you can reach out to them. You could say, hey, I need to re-record the video, and another opportunity will be provided. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, of course. We get it. Like this is a stressful time. You're applying to a lot of jobs and you're starting out your career. And for some of you, this might be the first time you're going through this process. So like it's a learning process and we're here to, work with you to kind of get through that. So how should you dress? So I used to work in tech, so it used to be a different vibe where you could show up to an interview and just not like really dress for your best. Here, in insurance, we're a bit more professional. So my advice is you want to make sure you have a professional background. You want to make sure you are wearing business attire. So that would be my guidance on that. We do have a dress for your day type policy here at Zurich, but throughout the interview process, my advice for anything insurance, I would always stress to dress professional, and that would be business professional if you're familiar with the terminology about it. Um, and then, how do I best prepare? So, what would we recommend? What would we recommend researching for the role? I imagine you all kind of have spoken with your career centers about like different things. I think you guys sound like you're some of the more top talent in this. But what I would say is like these are kind of just standard kind of interview kind of things you want to do. How does my background align with the qualifications for this role? Is something you should think about and like do some research on. How do I describe my professional background to an interviewer? And we'll go into this point in one of our slides, but I always recommend the STAR method: situation, task, action, result, to kind of just really summarize your ability of what your stories are, what was the things that were going on, and we'll go into that more detail at a later point. What initially interested you about the role, and why you're interested in Zurich? Hint: these are some pretty good things to take note on if you're trying to get a better understanding of our
Wink, wink.
question.
PRVI.
Wink, wink.
Screenshot this.
PRVI. These are some good things that will help you. So, um, overall, that's kind of the pre-recorded video interview portion of this. So does anyone have any questions on that? I know we just kind of went through a whole recruiting process discussion. So yes.
I actually did have a question. So, when we apply as a candidate, do you see that if we've done maybe a coffee chat or like we get a referral from someone at the firm, does that matter more to you when it comes to the recruiting process?
So we have, unfortunately, we aren't really able to prioritize anyone in our recruiting process. We have to have a fair and consistent process across the board, so it's a standardized process. My best bet, my advice to you, if you kind of want to stand out, is once these are posted, apply pretty quickly. Um, we don't have any type of like fast tracking for references or if you're a referral. It's always just a consistent process across the board. So you can have someone at Zurich refer you. However, that doesn't just guarantee an interview. It can guarantee that obviously we will review it.
Mhm.
But just kind of due to regulations, we have to ensure we keep a consistent process across the board.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Of course. Patrick?
Hey Michael, hi Stephanie. I was wondering if Zurich had some major hotspots. I know they're a massive company. I've even worked with them in my internship this summer, but I was wondering if there's any major cities of focus or if there's a lot of like remote opportunities as well.
Um, so, so I guess what are you studying? What's your background? What is it? Were you trying to go into underwriting? You trying to go into actuarial? What is
Yeah,
your
so
kind of career path?
right now I'm studying finance and risk management and insurance. I'm kind of
Okay.
open to all different things. This summer I'm doing an internship with the global insurance team at
Okay.
AES. So yeah.
Where are you based out of?
Arlington, Virginia. Well, I'm from Vienna. Yeah, I'm from Vienna,
Okay.
Virginia, near DC.
Okay, so our major hotspots, I would say for if you're, it sounds like you're, and I'm just gonna suppose if you're looking into do underwriting, we have the largest kind of volume of hiring in that area.
Okay.
Our major hotspots are Chicago, uh, Atlanta, and New York City. But we also have hiring across the country. But also our claims training program has offices in Atlanta, Dallas, and Schaumburg. Our headquarters are in Schaumburg. My advice to you is if you're trying to get a role, I would say your best bet is if you have the ability to relocate, you can apply anywhere, but we don't offer a stipend, so it's very rare that we do. I would advise if you're trying to get a role, try to get somewhere where you're going to be based out of, like in DC or like that. We do have an office there and some potential. Steph, I don't want to kind of hog this. Do you want to kind of tap in on this because this is kind of your area of expertise when it comes to just you do all the hiring for the underwriting program. So
Yeah. So all the hubs that Mike mentioned, those are all kind of larger saturation areas where we might have a cohort of between like 5 to 10 UTPs or something, or 5 to 10 interns. So Arlington, Virginia, I want to say that's like within like a commute, like 30 minutes or something to DC, right?
It is, yeah. It's like right on the metro there, so it's
So
easy.
we do have a team for our middle markets, like vertical and underwriting that typically does hire like an intern and a UTP. So there definitely could be the potential for that. And then St. Joseph's, I think is based near Philadelphia, right?
Yep, that's right.
So we do typically have like a small, I think this year we had between like 3 and 4 UTPs and maybe like 2 interns in Philadelphia. So that could be a potential option too. We should know in the next couple of weeks, like finalized numbers for headcount across all of our areas.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate it.
awesome. What year are you, by the way?
So I'm a rising junior.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely check out, apply, connect with us. This is what
Awesome.
this is about. So definitely networking. So, and then yeah, my LinkedIn's in there too. So
Yep,
awesome. Does anyone
absolutely.
other have any other
Appreciate it.
questions?
Yeah, what is UTP for those that don't understand the acronym?
Underwriting training program. All of our programs are foundational training programs, but some of them have different kind of acronyms. The name kind of sounds a little weird, like training program. I kind of want to change it to more like foundational programs, but that's another point. You're a full-time employee. It's a great, these are all great programs to give you just kind of an accelerated understanding of our different areas. So there's claims, underwriting, actuarial, and financial development program, which is more of a rotation program, and then I'm forgetting our risk engineering program as well. So,
Yeah, and
Nancy?
Nancy, go for it.
Came to aligning your background with the qualifications for role that you might be applying for. Well, I am pursuing a data science and risk management and kind of looking to merge these into risk management. And what does that look like on the market? How well can I align my probably different background into, say, the risk engineering role that you have? How well can I align my background, my qualifications into presenting myself as a good candidate for the role, considering I don't
So
have any
that is
direct insurance background.
that is a great segue to our next point in the slides, because
Yeah.
we'll definitely go into
I'll let
that.
you know.
But it's like that's serendipitous that you said that. I would say you would want to obviously look at what the qualifications are of the role and mirror kind of what the key words are based off the experience that you have. Based off with a data science and risk management role, you do have some risk engineering capabilities to work with that I think you'd be a good fit for. In addition, you would also kind of, I would say, consider maybe our underwriting group. That would be a good area because our underwriters are market facing, so it's a good mix of uh, meeting with clients and brokers, but also you have to have an analytical piece and be able to understand and quantify rates and things of that nature. So those are the two areas that I would kind of, in summary, kind of say would be good fits. But yeah, I love that everyone's very enthusiastic about this. Is great. Um, yeah, so tips for writing a great resume. So want to kind of go into this. Why do you want a good resume? So essentially, your resume represents your brand and just who you are professionally, and it's one of the most important pieces to your professional success. Your resume is the first impression that the recruiting team is going to have of you, and a great resume is going to help you stand out and get you the interview for the dream job you're hoping for. The goal of this session is to help you set up a resume that communicates your qualifications and helps stand out as an aid to helping you land that dream job. We'll break during this portion of the session, we're going to break down the different sections of the resume and how to best format each of them. Following the session, you can feel free to reach out to me if you want me to try and give you some feedback on your resume. You got my info. It is my busy time, so we'll have to kind of figure out some time to parse through that. It'd probably be throughout the next month and a half that I can kind of get some time with you all, but happy to give you some feedback, here to be a resource. So yeah, I want to go to the next slide. So I don't know if this is a bit hard for folks to see, but here's an example of two kind of standard early talent resumes and how you kind of summarize them. In general, you're going to want to have an education point. You're going to want to have academic project work. You're going to want to have experience. You're going to want to have, if you're kind of more technical focused, you probably want more skills and things of that nature. But what really works well with these is, okay, if you look at the top, there is a designate your name and designation. You have your address. And as a recruiter, what's really important actually within early talent, just to kind of give you a tip, is as recruiters, we're looking at literally hundreds, not even, if not thousands of resumes throughout the season. And in the early talent space, you want to make sure you put your graduation date there. Because when we're looking for our intern program, or is this person going to qualify for our early talent program, if it just says June 2022 to present or something, it's harder for us to ascertain where can I place this person. And if you know there's a quick kind of stat, most recruiters are looking at your resume maybe for 15 seconds. So you want to be sure, especially in these high volume type environments, that you can like get this let the recruiters see exactly what they need to see to get through it quickly. Keywords are important. You want to have a quick and concise objective statement. Objective statements should be 1 to 2 sentences, 3 at max. They shouldn't be really fluffy. They should be very direct. We'll help you walk through that. If you don't have an internship, highly recommend using project work or any experiences that relate to insurance or the role that you're applying for. Um, to kind of quantify and beef up your resume. If you have an internship, put that in front of this. But if you don't, I would say project work relating to that and or anything that you've done within clubs to kind of really highlight, hey, I'm interested in underwriting. Hey, I'm interested in this. Here's what I've done in relation to this to really brand you out. In general, if you have work experience, I would say then that would go at the top of that. But anything that's kind of more related to your career, and since you all are kind of more in that early talent space, I would say clubs and or projects would probably be key rather than like your summer job. You want to kind of highlight as much as you can to show, hey, I am a leader. I'm busy with my academics, but I'm also involved with things that relate to the industry that I'm trying to get into. Green flags for us are student leaders, someone who's on a sports team, someone who works full time, someone who's dedicated, and that you want to try and convey that throughout this. And then we'll kind of go into kind of just how to format the content of each of these. On average, you should have 3 to 4 bullet points. You can have 1 to 2 pages on here depending on your work experience. Aim for one. You're all early in your career. So you want to use action verbs or in past tense, and we'll kind of go into the STAR method to describe these. I know I just kind of data dumped a lot of info on this. Anyone have any questions on that at all? Excellent. We're going to kind of go further into this, and then you probably might have some more questions. So here's how to write an objective statement. A resume objective statement essentially is a brief summary of your experience, skills, work ethics, and goals. It's like I said, you summarize it at the top within a few sentences. You don't need to be flowery or expansive. You want to make it possible for the recruiter to quickly see that you're qualified. And as recent graduates or current students, it's okay to focus more on skills rather than work experience since you're just getting into the workforce. So for example, I'm just going to read one out. This was for a recent finance graduate, one was for a recent marketing graduate. Essentially, recent finance graduate with a solid foundation in financial analysis, investment strategies, and market research, eager to leverage strong analytical skills, attention to detail, and proficiency in financial modeling to contribute to the success of a dynamic financial team as an analyst. I'll break this down real quick. Indicates they're a recent finance graduate, shows some of the skill sets they've gotten. Then they also were able to leverage the different areas that they have done in their areas again, and then also have stated that they want to be on a part of that team as a financial analyst. Think of your resume as a living resume. If you're trying to go for another type of role, you might want to change that up and make sure you're constantly kind of updating throughout that process. So yeah, let's go on to the next slide. So this kind of is the education background. Like I kind of went over earlier, you want to show that your degree is earned, field of study. Honors and awards are optional. Coursework is optional. I would say this stuff kind of you don't need to keep on as you've kind of gotten out of you've gotten more tenured in the workforce. I would keep the awards, but you don't need the relevant coursework 3 years out. You can kind of axe that. Like I said, it's important to highlight your graduation date so recruiters can consider you for the appropriate role for full-time and intern. Again, as you gain more tenure, this will be less relevant. Quite frankly, as I've kind of left the workforce, as I've gotten more into the workforce, I took my graduation date off because I don't want people to kind of assume based off my graduation year, oh, this individual is younger in their career. I don't think that's relevant. So, but once you're in your early career stage, you want to make sure you're able to like help the recruiter out to help get you that interview first. But once you've gotten more exposure, the graduation date isn't very relevant. I even took it off my LinkedIn. Be sure to put this information on the top of your resume as well so we can quickly scan through it. Next slide. All right, so entry-level applicants that are new to the workforce, like I said, you should highlight leadership roles and positions in clubs that help stand out when you're applying to internship and full-time opportunities. Meaning if you don't have relevant workforce, you need to highlight that to kind of give you that kind of one-up. We're looking at those things to kind of evaluate this person's resume to see if they're a good fit and if they're kind of involved in addition to just having that relevant experience. If you don't have a corporate internship or relevant co-op, the role you are applying for this section should be kind of placed towards the top of your resume. If you do have that relevant work experience, it should be placed at the top. This section could then also be kind of moved under that relevant internship to also highlight, wow, this person has an internship and they have all these different club skills and like leadership things. Wow, this is a top tier talent. Let's get them in. That's definitely kind of what you want to look at. Essentially, think of this way to highlight soft skills, leadership in various projects, essentially. Next. I would say this is the most important piece to your resume. If you have a relevant work experience in the role that you're applying for, I'd say it's imperative for you to um, list that to the top. So if you have an underwriting internship, put that up top, put 3 to 5 bullet points. The most you should have, honestly, is 5. I would say if you can beef up the internship to 5 bullet points to highlight that, that's key. I would say if you have a non-relevant work experience, you can maybe put 2 to 3. It's not that important. Like you're not going to stand out if you put your summer lifeguard role there. It's not going to hold as much weight as like a leadership role on campus or a club on campus. You want to make sure you're really highlighting the things that are going to help you get the job. Think beyond the job duties. It's important to highlight your actions and results within the role. So again, going to the STAR method, provide contextual details that inform us the purpose of your work and the scope of the project that you were accomplished. Again, STAR method. Use a combination of action words to highlight your experience to make sure your resume is easy to read. So don't just like put like a job description up there. You need to show metrics. You need to show that you've accomplished things where you're at, and you want to give context. I always say like, hey, the best thing you can do on this portion is I always like to highlight what is my big win here? What is the biggest, best accomplishment that I've had at this job? I put that as the first bullet point, and I STAR method it out. I quantify it. I use action verbs, and I give the result. I actually kind of start honestly with the result first, and I kind of work backwards because there's some people that say, hey, put like the result first and then kind of what you did to get there. And that way it kind of sticks in their mind quicker. And then we can kind of go into more details about that in the next slide. So again, work experience should be a living resume. You should have the most relevant work experience for what you're applying to. You want to make sure you're putting the clubs towards the top. You want to make sure you're mirroring the job description that you're applying to. You don't want to lie, but you also want to look for keywords that are kind of brought in the job description and put your resume to kind of have those keywords. And you got to be honest and truthful with yourself of, have I done this at this position? And can I use this relevant experience to get to that point to help you grow? But using keywords to mirror what's in the job description, if you have that experience, will help you stand out to also show like, okay, I'm scanning this resume and they have these points, these points, these points. So again, keeping your resume alive and having different edits as you're applying to jobs are going to help you stand out. Think of it as like a malleable living document that you can shift your background and focus in different aspects depending on the role you're applying for. So if I have a marketing internship and an underwriting internship, I'm going to move the marketing internship to the top, move the underwriting internship below. Essentially, I'm going to shift and make my resume as marketing as possible, as underwriting as possible, and have separate resumes for different roles I'm applying for if you're undecided on exactly where you want to go. Next slide. STAR method. Now, I'm not going to like paraphrase too much on this, but I'm going to give you a quick rundown. I highly recommend if you haven't looked into this, this is going to be your pivotal best friend for the rest of your life, whether you're interviewing or doing resume stuff or even just working on a problem. So situation, task, action, results. So essentially you want to describe the context of what is the task you performed, often internships, part-time jobs, or school projects. For instance, worked as a marketing intern at XYZ company during summer break. What was the task you were doing while you were there? Assisted and assigned to assist in the development of a social media campaign. And then the action is conducted market research, created content calendars, and scheduled posts, which was the result. So if you wanted to kind of summarize this, you would want a good bullet point with this method would be you know, I was able to increase the social media engagement by 15% over 3 months. I did this by conducting market research, creating content calendars, and scheduling posts. And then I would even put like, um, this was, you know, my major role. This I would just use those 2 points, and then I would use like this assigned to assistant social media development campaign, and I would say, okay, I was working on that for X amount of months, and I was doing this maybe 3 times a week, giving some quantity or quantifying, but showing the result with metrics. What was the action you got? What was the task? And just kind of making a bullet point off that. And that's how I would structure these. I would maybe think about 4 or 5 different things, put your big win up top, but the other 4 things that you like there, they could be more just job related day-to-day stuff. It could be key things that you think are kind of more industry standard that you've done. But yeah, think about this as you kind of structure your resume. Next slide. So this is some just general tips from a recruiter perspective that I want to kind of go over. The graduation piece is key. Kind of said that 3 times already. Living resume point. Highlight roles, leadership roles, clubs, sports, or any other academic organizations. I would say when you're applying to jobs, it's important to create a tracker in Excel to track the number of jobs you've applied to. Apply to jobs closer to the graduation. Apply to jobs as close to the date they are posted as possible. You'll have a higher chance of getting a phone screen. When you're on the job search, you should treat this like a part-time job. You should be applying to jobs probably if you're early talent now through November, 5 to 6 a week. I would even say 4 to 5 a day, and you should use a variety of job boards: LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, Google. Being in the industry, they scrape our jobs, they put them on there, and we have paid partnerships with them. As well as obviously in college, Handshake is a great place, but you're in a tough market right now, and you're going to expect like a 6 to 9% callback once you've kind of started to do these. So you need to treat this like a part-time job, and you need to really get into it. And I would say using an Excel tracker, and making sure you're treating this like, okay, I'm going to apply to 4 to 5 jobs each day, and I'm going to try and just take interviews and learn the best that I can to kind of practice with these. The more you do it, the better you are. If you have this tracker, you're able to kind of analyze where I'm at in the process. You can kind of give those things out. But yeah, that's kind of just my general tips as a process. So sorry, that was a lot quickly. So, Steph? So we typically would do an individual exercise after this, but this might be something that you want to do on your own afterwards, because obviously with the sake of time. Take 15 minutes to summarize your internship experience. Feel free to use the STAR method when listing out your responsibilities. Think about a key accomplishment so far. How would you summarize that project you are working on? It can be a good practice to list the top of that at the bullet points. Aim for 5 bullet points. You can have more if needed, but that would be kind of the structure. So next slide.
And Isabella does have a question for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, so I just had a quick question regarding your job posting. So I know that you guys are still updating and finalizing headcounts. Do you guys recommend if, say, we're interested in like the captive role, but then also the large property role, would you guys want us to apply for both of them or just one? And then if we were to get an interview, we could just specify that we're okay with either?
Yeah, I would say apply to 2 or 3 at max. I wouldn't go above that. And then if you get an interview, then wait. Steph, I think doesn't our application process have an option for them to select what group they want to work with, or is it more general that they only get to select like underwriting?
So it's more general, and for like our higher density hiring locations, we're typically looking at national accounts. So those are like larger enterprise accounts. So to your point, there's like captives, domestic casualty, general liability. So for that virtual interview day I was mentioning, you would interview with most likely like 3 different lines of business. And typically we work with the lines of business to talk about candidate preferences, and then if you have like a preference after like a virtual interview day, like you met with like the cyber team and you're like, oh my God, this team's the greatest, I have to work for them. Definitely feel like you can reach out to us if there is a preference. But ultimately, typically the decision lies with like the specific line of business hiring teams when we're going through like debriefs after an interview day. if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I know we're running really short on time, so I will like roll through this like super, super quickly, and then we can stay on a couple minutes later if any of you have any questions at all. But these are just like some quick tips for LinkedIn, just from a recruiter's perspective. So on LinkedIn, and this will probably happen to you this year. You might have a recruiter reach out to you, and it'll pop up almost kind of like how Facebook you would get I feel like I'm aging myself. I don't even know if Facebook has this anymore, but the messages where you'd have like that little notification that you had, like something in Messenger that you needed to look at. So we have that same type of functionality on LinkedIn. And this is kind of like the flip side of that. So if I'm a recruiter, I'm looking to hire an underwriter within the Atlanta area, for example, and I really want to source a pipeline of like 200 LinkedIn profiles from LinkedIn and send them that LinkedIn in mail. So same as that kind of like Facebook Messenger, same idea. This is how I would go about doing it. And why this is important is it's really important to be like as descriptive as possible on your LinkedIn profile. So like Mike was talking about, just like how including keywords for like a specific job or specific industry is really important. This is just as important on LinkedIn. I would say, if not more important, especially within like underwriting and insurance, we do source a lot of passive candidates. Like about 25% of the folks we hired this year were from passive sourcing on LinkedIn. So this is just like an example of one of the pipelines that we have on LinkedIn. So you can see that I'm looking for folks in Atlanta, and then the keyword that I chose to add was risk management and insurance, just because, the industry. So you can see here, so this person got pulled because they're within Atlanta, and there's probably some portion of risk management and insurance that's mentioned on their profile. And then this person here, you can even see that they're a risk management and insurance student at the University of Georgia. So putting all these different types of keywords on your profile, when I run a search and I'm looking for like risk management and insurance, maybe I add in underwriting, maybe I add in finance, as descriptive as you can be as possible, whether you're interested in a career within like underwriting or claims or anything like that. It's just really important. Because the more descriptive you are, the more you're going to be sourced and pulled into these pipeline projects. And then recruiters will, you might not even have to like directly apply to a role. Like a recruiter could reach out to you and send you an application link. And then the other thing really quickly too, so writing a LinkedIn bio, I think is really important. So I think it was Nancy on the call that mentioned that you might be looking to transition to a role in underwriting. So a LinkedIn bio, if let's say like you're looking to pivot, you have technical experience, but you don't necessarily like have the professional experience yet, a LinkedIn bio. So think of this as kind of like the objective statement on your resume. The LinkedIn bio is something very similar, being as descriptive as possible and saying that you're looking for like an underwriting role, the geolocation that you're from. Those things are all really important because like I mentioned, those will pull on a LinkedIn search, and I would be able to look at someone's profile and say, okay, like they have the technical background, they're looking to transition into X, Y, and Z role. So this is someone that I'm going to add to my pipeline and reach out to, if that makes sense. And then this is just a quick, so we always say that you should mirror your resume to your LinkedIn profile. Just being as descriptive as possible is really important. And then why it's really important to have a LinkedIn profile. So specifically for career opportunities, if you're looking for a corporate internship or just a role post-grad, also just professional brand. We're in this like digital age, so it is just really important to have some sort of presence on LinkedIn and just to be reflecting your experience. And just in terms of general tips for from our perspective, so making sure that, let's say like your graduation date changes, make sure to always update that on your LinkedIn too, because very frequently when we're doing a search, we will sort on graduation date and add that like that specific year into our search. Always respond to emails, even if it's something you're not interested in. You never know if that recruiter might have a role that you're interested in the future. So it's always good to be nice. Saying that you're open to work. This is something that we can also select and filter in on like a recruiter search. So that's important too. And then just like LinkedIn etiquette. You're all on like the Spencer call, so I know you all have your. I'm sure that you know like all the right things to post on LinkedIn, but just being mindful about what you're posting. And then another activity that we would recommend to complete after this session is writing a LinkedIn bio for yourself. And then something else that I even did like when I was in school. So you can always like Google or not Google search, LinkedIn search like campus recruiter in like your geographical area. And I would say maybe add like 5 or 6 of those campus recruiters to your network because this time of year, just like myself, like we're all starting to post about roles and things that are open. So that'll kind of help you just stay in the know about like what companies are specifically hiring. So I know we're a few minutes over, but feel free to drop if you need to. That's totally fine. If you have any questions, feel free to stay on and we can answer a couple.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you both very much. Michael, Stephanie, thank you for hanging out with us for an hour. For all of the students that are here with us, as you know, we do this every week throughout the summer. And so our next session is going to be next week, Thursday, that's August 8th from 1 to 2 Eastern. And our presenting company is going to be FM. They just had a name change. They went from FM Global to FM. And we're going to have a presenter from Canada who'll be dialing in to talk about decoding claims and chartering your career path. So as Stephanie mentioned, if anyone wants to hang on for a couple more minutes, please feel free to do so. If not, I will catch you all next week. Stephanie, Michael, thank you again. We appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.